Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Murphy at the Upton Town Library, and for today's craft tutorial we're going to be making a sheep, and this is called una oveja in Spanish because this craft goes along with our recent preschool story time all about Spanish animals. We read stories in Spanish and English, we learned animal names, did some animal yoga, and this is our animal that we're going to make today, a sheep, una oveja. So to make this craft, you'll need a few things. You'll need some basic craft supplies like scissors and glue, paper. Our craft template looks like this. It's going to come with a head, 4 legs, and the body of a sheep. You may or may not choose to use this, and we'll talk about it as we go through the directions. You can find this template on our event calendar for today's preschool story time, March 18th. And you can download and print it. If you need any help printing, you can always contact me here at the library. My email is lmurphy@cwmars.org, and I'm always happy to print out a copy and put it on our no contact pickup table for you. So for your supplies today, I used some plain white paper, and actually the white paper I got was from the scraps that we used on this template. So you really only need that. I had some green scrap paper in my scrap paper box. I chose to use some blue construction paper to put it on, but you don't have to. You can always put this on a piece of cardboard, an old box, anything. I'm a strong believer in using whatever you have at home and making it work. So let's get our things set up and get started. So we have all of our materials set up today. We've got our template printed out. We've got things like scissors, glue, extra paper. If you want to use a piece of background paper like I did, I used light blue, but you could always just use the back of a cereal box and use that as your background. You know, it doesn't have to be construction paper. You can always just use materials that you have around the house. So that's that. I also have this scrap of green paper that will show how to make the grass with. And I also grabbed a little plastic tub. This has some scrap paper in it for making the wool of the sheep, but you could always use something like cotton balls. Cotton balls are also fun to make look like the wool of a sheep. So really, whatever your creativity comes up with is what you should do. All right, always lots of different ways to change things up. So the first thing you're going to want to do is print out your template and cut out the pieces. So I've already done that. I've got the head here, I've got my 4 legs, and I've got the wool part for the sheep. I saved all the little scraps here to make my wool. So I'm going to demonstrate now how to cut up all the little scraps and scrunch them. So we're going to set our pieces to one side and do our cutting. It's nice to have these old containers. This, I think, came from, I don't know what this came from, maybe like some mashed potatoes or something. I don't know, but I save a lot of containers. I think they're great for using for paints and for little pieces. So you're going to want to make sure you have scissors, demonstrating proper scissor grip for your kids. Thumb in the thumb hole, 3 fingers usually. My fingers are a little too big, but 3 fingers and pinky on the outside as the support. If they're a lefty, be sure you're using lefty scissors that are designated for lefties. The blades will be cutting differently. I'm a righty, so mine will look like this, but they do make lefty scissors, so be sure to get those if you think your kid's a lefty. And then you're just going to carefully snip the paper into long strips, making sure they're careful not to pinch fingers. So make sure you have a very safe pair of scissors for them. And this doesn't have to be perfect. This is just cutting into little strips. So it's okay if they're jagged, if they're crooked, different sizes. And I'm going to take all these scraps and cut them all until this cup is full. Now that I have my cup of scraps all cut up into little strips, we're going to start building. So we saved the gluing for last because that's the messiest part. So I think for today we're going to build on our blue paper. So I'm going to set this cardboard aside. We don't need that. And I'm going to start by gluing. I think for today I'm going to show you with the template just because it'll provide a spot for the kids to glue the scraps. You don't have to use the template though. So for this, I'm going to use my glue stick. I like these Elmer's glue sticks, I always tell you, because the purple is helpful for the kids to see where the glue goes. So we're gluing onto that template. Again, if your kids are young and you don't feel like doing some of the messy part with the scraps, you could just do a cut and glue craft and be done. But we're going to make it a little bit of a 3D project with some texture. So we've got our wool right in the middle. We're going to talk about where does the head go. So I'm going to twist this up a little more. Put the head on. And I'm not going to put the head in the middle. I'm going to put my head, I think I'm going to put it on the right side this time. Make it opposite. Okay. And then we have 4 legs. As animals like sheep have 4 legs. And we'll put a little glue on the back of each. We'll put 2 in the back and 2 in the front. There's 2 and 2 in the front. And again, use your kid's age to guide you as to how much you think they can do. We can also do our grass now, because the wool is going to be the messiest part, so we'll save that for last. So I've got this old scrap of paper. I think I'm just going to cut, so you can see I made a puppet on the back, so I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to fold it in half. And I'm going to snip it like grass. Not all the way. Maybe when I get to the end, I flip it over so I don't hurt my fingers. Okay, so you can see that it's not all the way to the end, because this is where I'm going to also take it and cut right along the edge. And there are lots of different ways you can teach your kids how to do this. This is just a quick way. But now I've got 2 pieces. All right, and I can decide how high I want to put them. Maybe like that. Like that. It's walking through the grass. I might not even need the end here, so I might just tear it off. And I'll put that along the bottom. And here I'm just going to run glue along the bottom of the page. I'm going quickly, but certainly take your time with your craft. Use this as a chance for your kids to enjoy their crafts, spend some time together, talk about the animals. And we'll put our grass on. There's our grass. We've got our little grass here. All right, and now comes the fun part. It's kind of messy, so what we're going to do is take all of our pieces of scraps that we cut, and what I like to do is scrunch them ahead of time. So kind of just curl them up a little bit, make sure they've got some texture to them. It's a little bit fun, scrunching it all up with big fuzzy pieces of wool. All right, so your pieces will look like that. And then what we'll do is take our wet glue, take the little cap, glue always dries on the top, and we're going to use our glue and just drizzle it on the sheep, only on where the wool will go. All right, plenty of it, and it's going to dry. It's going to be very heavy when it dries. Wet glue usually is. All right, and then we're going to press our scrap paper onto the wool spot for the sheep. And you will get sticky, you will get messy, and that's why this is the last step. All right, it should be just enough to cover your sheep. There's a little more glue if you need to. And that is our last step for our sheep. If you want to add details, you can always use scrap paper and draw a barn on the side. Whoops, there goes our glue. You can do a sun. Make 2 of these on a large piece of cardboard. Whatever you like. Let's see. Get those extras that fall off. And there is our woolly sheep. Una oveja. Bye, everyone.